Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right in to unpack the realities, the opportunities, and, yeah, the challenges of pursuing a Btech at VIT Bhopal. Look, choosing an engineering college is massive. It's a huge life decision, and honestly, it is so easy to get lost in all that marketing noise. So today, we're cutting right through it. We're strictly looking at the data, real student experiences, and the structural realities of this university to figure out if it's actually your ideal fit.
Here's our blueprint for today. We're breaking this whole thing down into 5 distinct pillars. First, the lay of the land. Then, inside the classroom. After that, beyond the books, followed by the payoff, and finally, the final verdict.
All right, let's dive right into section 1, the lay of the land.
Now, this brilliantly illustrates the contrast that really defines the VIT Bhopal experience. On the ground, the reality is that it's a mid-tier private university in a pretty remote location near Bhopal in Madhya Pradesh. But, and it's a big but, on the flip side, you've got the brand. You are plugging into the highly recognized national VIT group ecosystem, standing right alongside the Vellore, Chennai, and AP campuses. This distinction is absolutely crucial. You might be studying on a developing, secluded campus, but you're walking away with a degree carrying serious national name recognition. It's a real balancing act between your immediate day-to-day reality and that long-term brand equity. So, how do you actually get a seat at the table? Well, the admission process is entirely merit-driven. You've got to navigate the VIT-EE, the entrance exam. The steps are pretty straightforward, really. You register, take the computer-based test, secure your rank, and then that rank dictates your campus and branch choices during counseling. But listen, here is the absolute most critical takeaway. There is zero management quota for Btech admissions here. None. You literally cannot buy your way into this institution. You've got to earn your spot through that exam.
Moving right along to section 2, inside the classroom.
VIT Bhopal runs on a semester system using something called the Fully Flexible Credit System, or FFCS. And honestly, this is a massive advantage if you know how to manage your time. It's a choice-based model that basically lets you build your own timetable. Depending on seat availability, you get to handpick your faculty, your class timings, and your specific electives. Are you a morning person? Great. Stack your classes early. Do you vibe better with a specific professor's teaching style? You can try to grab a spot in their lecture. It puts the responsibility and the freedom of your education right in your hands.
This timeline clearly maps out how your 4 years will actually unfold, taking you from broad basics to highly specialized project-based work. In year 1, you're laying the foundation, math, physics, and basic programming. By year 2, things get pretty serious. You're diving into core branch subjects, so think object-oriented programming and DBMS if you're in CS. Then, year 3 is where it gets super exciting. You're branching into stuff like cloud computing, cybersecurity, and various electives. Finally, year 4 is all about the real world, heavy focus on internships in your major projects to get you ready for those placements. But hold on, time for a quick reality check. The curriculum might be flexible, but the rules, not so much. Student feedback is super consistent on this. Attendance requirements are heavily enforced here, way stricter than a lot of other engineering colleges. You're not just cramming for midterms and finals, you're facing continuous internal assessments. We're talking a never-ending stream of quizzes, assignments, and lab evaluations. You simply can't just coast through. You've got to show up and put in the sweat equity every single week. All right, let's step off the academic grind for a second. Section 3, beyond the books. Now, what's really fascinating here is the sheer variety of computer science specializations you can choose from. They don't just hand you a generic computing degree. You've got options like AI and machine learning, cloud computing, cybersecurity, gaming technology, health informatics, and even e-commerce tech. This is honestly one of the biggest selling points for the university. It lets you align your degree with highly specific, fast-growing sectors in the tech world right from day one. And you'll be studying all of this in a rapidly expanding environment. The campus infrastructure is modernizing fast. We're talking smart classrooms and really solid facilities. On the living side, you've got AC and non-AC hostel options. But keep your expectations grounded, right? Because while the Wi-Fi and sports grounds are great, reviews on the mess food remain, well, distinctly mixed. It's your classic residential university experience. The infrastructure's growing, but yeah, the dining hall isn't winning any Michelin stars anytime soon. To really thrive here, though, you absolutely have to immerse yourself in the highly active coding culture. It is intense. The top students are constantly grinding, participating in hackathons, crushing leak code practice, competing on CodeChef and HackerRank, and contributing to open source projects. There are tons of tech clubs, but here's the catch. Self-learning is the major driver of success here. The university gives you the platform, but you are the one who has to bring the hustle. Which brings us to the part you've all been waiting for, Section 4, the payoff.
Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, that massive 50 lakhs per annum number everyone whispers about. Look, publicly reported data does show that the highest packages have topped 50 LPA recently. That's incredible, but context is literally everything. While those peak numbers grab all the headlines, the reality is that average packages are much lower and they vary wildly depending on your branch. To hit those top-tier numbers, you need an exceptional CGPA, a killer portfolio of projects, and relentless personal effort. It is totally possible, but let me be clear, it is not handed to you.
The good news, though, is that the Career Development Center does bring the heavy hitters right to your doorstep. You're going to see major software and consulting firms on campus: TCS, Infosys, Cognizant, Accenture, Deloitte, IBM, you name it. The institutional relationships are undeniably strong. They set the stage, they bring the audience, and if you've spent the last 4 years actually building your skills and keeping your grades up, the launchpad for a great career is sitting right there.
All right, let's bring this whole thing together. Section 5, the final verdict.
When you weigh it all out, the picture gets pretty clear. On the plus side, you're getting the national prestige of the VIT brand, that highly flexible FFCS academic system, a super vibrant coding ecosystem, and an awesome array of CSE choices. But you have to balance that against the realities. You're dealing with a massive student intake, which makes placements fiercely competitive. You've got strict rules to navigate, and you're doing it all at a pretty remote campus. This balanced assessment really puts it into perspective. Infrastructure and academics score high, around 8 or 8.5 out of 10, because of the modern facilities and flexible learning. The coding culture is a solid 8 too. But placements in campus life, they sit closer to a 7.5. Why? Because placements are incredibly dependent on your individual hustle, and campus life is still developing out there in that remote setting.
Which leaves us with one final, absolutely vital question. Are you driven enough to build your own success? See, VIT Bhopal is a mid-tier university with top-tier potential, but only for the right kind of student. If you think a high-paying placement is just going to fall into your lap because of the name on the gate, you should probably look elsewhere. But if you're proactive, disciplined, and ready to hustle through competitive coding and internships, this campus absolutely provides the tools to build an incredible career. Thanks so much for joining me for today's Explainer, and I hope this helps you map out the absolute best blueprint for your future.